kind of got into it.
Oh.
And just the record.
Yeah. So good.
So I got into it just for that sake. I realized there was, if other people could do this acting thing, then surely I could do it. The thing is, in New Zealand at the time is, and still to be fair, there's no one really teaching presenters, people how to present the camera properly, and outside of Toastmasters, no one's really teaching public speakers in a way of coming from a background of being in that position of TV. Now, I used to travel. Each year I would travel to LA or London or, Melbourne to NIDA or Sydney. And what I found whenever I was traveling to do to practice and to upskill is, without blowing my trumpet too much, is I never felt like what they were teaching me resonated with me. And the thing that I felt that wasn't connecting was it was an act. Every time we got to speak or be in front of the camera, it was almost like acting. It was an act. You pump up your energy, and it was almost like a travel show presenter. And I always felt that it was missing the authenticity and the connection with the audience, and going to the audience, this is me. Mm-hmm. This is me. And I know you're judging me, but if you're going to judge me, then here's all the information that you need. Like, this is me. If you don't like this, if you don't like what I'm giving you right now, you're never going to like me, because this is me. Do you know what I mean? And when we have this fantasy or perception of what a presenter is meant to look like, and when we play out that fantasy on screen or on stage, you're giving your audience almost like a two-dimensional character. I've got Andrew Eggleton down pat. Do you know what I mean? I've done this for 48 years. No one knows this character as well as I do. So this is the best way for me to put my foot forward. But when we get on stage, and I've done this in the past, in my earlier years, it was what is my audience? I was asking the wrong questions. What does my audience want me to be? And of course, you can't answer that. And it was also, who am I modeling myself? Who am I pretending that I am on stage? Which, of course, you don't know that either. Yeah. And so you're kind of living in this, you've got these masks on, so the audience never really feels you and connects with you on a deeper level.
Yeah. Why do you think people do that? Because, it happens so often, right, that people are showing this idea of what they think the world wants to see.
The biggest one is being, the knowledge that you're being judged, and you are. Hi, Robin. You are being judged. This is what we do. We're human beings. We're judgy. And I'm very careful that I don't do, because I'm so aware of it now, I try not to do this. I try to hold myself back. But this is what we do. This is how we sum people up, isn't it? It's like, okay, So when we hop on stage, we're frightened of what people, am I smart enough? Mm-hmm. And how do I look? Which is a ridiculous one, because presenting has got nothing to do with how you look. It really has got nothing to do with how you look. It's what's coming out of your mouth and what are you giving off to your audience. And this is how you attract your tribe, your tribe, specifically the people that you want to attract, is by being you. And I find all through trial and error, really, and through seeing clients, is when they're presenting with the mask on, they are often attracting the type of clientele that they don't really want. And this is how you get up on a Wednesday and you're kind of going, oh my God, Wednesday, 11 a.m., working with my team today. How do I keep attracting these people? Do you know what I mean? And it's because this is what you're putting out. You don't know, but I'll tell you I'm going to tell you something really embarrassing, but I do tell this in jest, because I'm over myself now. I used to do this in acting, and this is a nice example, and it is slightly embarrassing. When I was in my 20s, I used to try and copy, because I wasn't a great actor at that stage of my life, and presenting has always been my passion. Acting was like something I almost got away with. Right. I used to copy Brad Pitt, copy him. So whenever I was doing a scene in something, I was almost trying to remember, or what have I seen Brad do in a film? Now, what would he do with his arm? What did I see him do with his face? What's his reaction? Now, the trouble with that is that Brad had Brad Pitt sewn up.
Right.
And because it's him, he knew what to do moment to moment to moment to moment, because he was just working moment to moment. The only way that I could do was copy by what I visually seen him do on a film, or on YouTube or something. Does that make sense?
Totally.
So therefore, I was kind of working with about this much space, where he was working from out here, and of course that's where I am now too.
Yeah. So, because we're told as, entrepreneurs and in all the things that we're doing about this thing around modeling, right? So you want to model the habits and the behaviors of the people who are doing what you do. But, how do you bring that to life? It's like we're modeling people, but we're being our authentic selves on stage. What are your thoughts on that?
I think modeling is, for me, you can replace that with a framework. Mm-hmm. So if you know that there's a framework to work within, that one that gives you a lot of confidence, you know where you're going. It's like playing basketball. You need to know where the lines are. Otherwise, you could be shooting hoops from the grandstand, you know what I mean, or in the seats.
Right.
And so if you know where your framework is, and you know that you're going from A to B, what happens in between that is actually what you decide moment to moment to moment to moment, depending on what your audience wants. And this is the way that I teach, that is very, very different from a lot of other mentors or coaches in this area, is that they will teach you the technical. But for me, technical puts you in your head. And really the head is only for things like storytelling, clarity on your story, and who your audience is. Mm-hmm. And technical too could be aligned with, how am I using my voice? The knowledge of how to use my voice, how to stop and pause when I've made a point that I want my audience to hear. So I think that's more framework.
Yeah.
I know I've got a nice, safe place to play. Now let's see what happens in that framework, instead of modeling somebody.
Yeah.
Because the thing that makes you engaging is the very thing that is you. And I think people underestimate how powerful their personal stories are, no matter how insignificant they think they are. I mean, I've been brought to tears by people at iLAB, and in fact, the two people that have stuck out the most, they were both speaking about the same thing, and that was outsourcing. So how crazy is that? I mean, this person at iLAB and the one in Adelaide, they made the whole room, brought them to tears, and they were speaking about outsourcing. But the way they told their story was very personalized, and you could see it was super engaging. It was super engaging.
Yeah. That would be quite interesting, really, because we hear so many things about telling the story. There's framework for story, but how would you then be able to bring your personal message across if you're outsourcing and having all these elements? So I would imagine you'd have to be quite clear in who you are in that authentic message. Like, how would you help someone be able to work through that?
You look for the stories. I'm going to use one of these outsourcers, because if you can make outsourcing sound sexy, and then you're doing really well. Yes, Terry, you were there. Of course. So what happened when she first got on camera, and speaking to us there in the room, what she wanted to tell us was what she does ABC. I do database collection, I do this or this. And of course, for me, it's that is boring. It's like, I don't want to know how, I don't want to know how you do it. I don't know I just want to know how that affects me and what that looks like for me. Do I have more time for my family, more time for my relationship, more time doing the stuff that I love and turns me on? And by pushing her and almost like a little pinch, everyone has a different way that you get the best out of them, or what they need, or how they need to be nurtured through. And once she got, that's the best way of putting it in a PC way. Once she was let her guard down, and I'd made her angry enough, she just let go. And it was almost like she was yelling at me, but she was telling me why she does what she does. And it's because when she was younger, she didn't have the time to spend with her parents because her parents were so busy, and that they didn't have the time. She felt unnurtured as a teenager, and that relationship suffered because they were so busy. So she doesn't want other people to go through that themselves. So she wants to take that work off people. So you see how the story becomes, I choose that person over that person because I know that you genuinely care. There's a lawyer, and let's face it, lawyers is a very hard stigma to move past. But her story is that she grew up in South Africa, and she has an amazing story of one of her friends going missing and believe that they were taken as part of black magic. And she was incredibly bullied at school. So now, as an adult, as a lawyer, her specialty is going against business bullies. So when you want to hire a lawyer, and you know that her heart and why she does this is because she can't stand bullies, who do you go to? Do you know what I mean? You know that she's got, yes, you know, I've got values. She's an amazing storyteller, and this is what separates her from other lawyers who are just like, I'm ABC point 1, point 2, point 3. You know what I mean? She's a character.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And it definitely makes sense. But I think the challenge for most of us is that we don't want to share our story because we're frightened of what people think, or we don't have a clear way to articulate that. So is that something that you help people with?
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the first things we do. I get to know somebody, and first of all, we'll start with them telling me what it is that they do. And then I look for someone's personality. So after they've told me what it is they do, and 9 times out of 10, it's either not clear or it's not moving me, and I need to be moved. You know, because if you're not moving, or if you don't have a story behind your business. I mean, here's a little short story. Once upon a time, there was a business with no story. The end.
Yeah, I love it.
And so I find out what their business is, and then I'll ask literally just questions, and depending on who they are and how I'm feeling about them and their personality and what they need. One question might be like, it's just very relaxed. Okay, tell me, so where did you grow up? I grew up in Lonsington in Tasmania. Oh, great. Okay, that sounds like a little small place. Tell me about the community. Do you have any favorite childhood memories? And then we start talking, and the closer you get to seeing their real personality coming out, this is I marry that personality, that gift that is totally unique to them, with their business. So when they start speaking about their business, people see them. And this is what separates. If there's 5 presenting teachers in a row, and it's just a matter of choosing one, you're going to choose the character or the person that resonates with you the most.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And this is why you have to stand out with who you are. Like, bring your authentic personality to this. Who are you?
I love that.
Did that answer the question?
Yeah, it did. And you've got me thinking about a whole lot of things. I'm like, oh my goodness, I've gone way off track, but you've taken me down this place, because so many people talk about story, and I've seen the commercialization of story. What are your thoughts? Because there is a lot of commercialization around story, and then it's almost, for me personally, almost can become quite repelling if people are commercializing their story in such a way that it almost feels contrived. So there must be an art in there, right?
I'm just writing this down so I get this flow right. Someone said to me 3 months ago, and I still can't believe it, and I use it as an example, you know, storytelling is dead. And I laughed. And I was like, that'd be because you've killed it.
Yeah.
We've been using storytelling since cavemen drew on walls, and I'm sure there were stories before even they did it. The thing with storytelling, and it has been commercialized, is there's what I think one of the things that's given storytelling a little bit of is tarnished it, is people justifying their sense of worth on stage by how much pain they've been through.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no value in that to your audience. I understand if you've lost your legs or you've lost an arm, and that is your story. But how did you overcome it? Like, how did you become positive again? How did you see the light again? The reality is, when I get up on stage, I had a terrible neck injury 4 years ago, and I don't talk about it. And if I go to talk about it, I literally go, do you know what? I've had some really challenging times in my life, just like everybody else, and this is what I learned. Because my value in my story is how I got from A to B or through these challenging periods, packaged it up and then hand it to my clients, you know. And it's, if you're an audience, these are the tools and the gifts that I've learned. Do you know? There's the value. That's why people come to see you. That's what people pay for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and storytelling, presenting, public speaking has become such an incredible way to leverage your business. Like it's incredibly profitable because you get to meet your audience in person and they get to see you and connect with you. Like you can develop an instant connection with people where they walk out of an hour, 30-minute talk or an hour talk or 3-hour talk and they know, like, and connect with you and they trust you. This is the bottom line. They trust you, which is very hard to do that almost when you're just using copy. It's incredibly hard to do that. This speeds the process up 100-fold.
For sure. Because we're kinesthetic beings. Most of us are kinesthetic beings, right? So to be able to see, hear, and then almost feel the emotion and the passion of the delivery of the speaker, that makes so much sense to me. And you did say that speaking can become quite profitable for people. Like, what are the most common ways that people can benefit in their business from speaking and doing that in such a way that, you know, they can get a return on their investment?
So, just to narrow it down to a couple of ways. There's obviously meetup groups and speaking at other people's events is very profitable because 9 times out of 10 you are allowed to pitch or sell something at the end. Do you know what I mean? And if you're not allowed to sell something at the end and that's not what this is about, and you're actually being paid to be there, then you can still seed. You know, you can still kind of say the things. Do you know, I actually had this client, Martine, and she came to me with this problem. But when she left, it was all gone, and now she's doing X, Y, and Z. You can drop all these things in. You know, when you know how to seed and drop stories in that people are like, oh my God, that was my problem that Martine had, and he can fix it.
Yeah.
And the other one, of course, is running your own events, you know, your own workshops, your own teasers. And this is what I've found really successful for myself is I tour Australia on a regular basis, and I run teaser workshops for 3 hours. And then from those, I guess I seed and show people that I have a couple of programs afterwards. So I've set my business up to handle the effect of me selling in my events.
Ah, very cool. So as a speaker, then what would be some of the tools that, apart from themselves, right, that someone would use in their everyday business in order to elevate or to grow? What are some of the tools you use?
One is obviously there's the on-camera presence, and the on-camera presence is, you know, that you kind of need the on-camera presence to drive people to your live events.
Yeah,
you know, it's part copy. Yes, true. This is true, Terry. Yeah. You have the copy, you have the video, and when you are consistent with your Facebook Lives and your video, your people are getting to know, like, and trust you.
Mm-hmm.
And then from watching those, you're driving people to, you know, to your live events. Martine, just because I read Terry's thing, it's take. What was the question? Can you tell me that question again?
What are the tools that you use, and what are the tools that you think that everyone, like someone who wants to build a speaking business, would use on a daily basis or regularly? So you've answered that, like Facebook Live. Are there other things that would be helpful for people to be able to apply or use that you would recommend?
Sure. There's I mean, it's an art, so there's an infinity amount of things that you can learn. But you just don't know what you don't know. And there's ways of being able to not forget what you're saying on stage. And if you do forget, of how not to go into your head and start to overwhelm yourself with, oh no, this is going the wrong way. I have a whole lot of templates and models that I've created myself for speakers. One of those which is very unique, I think, is called the speaker's moment-to-moment model. And it's the ability to be able to, we feel this, and we'll do this in the retreat, but it's how you go from A to B, A being where you start your speaking gig, and B where you finish. And then the major moments that you're going to go through, that it's almost like this is State Highway 1. I'm taking State Highway 1 today. But when you're working moment to moment with an audience, and this is what not many people do, you see, people go in with a really preconceived concept or idea of how this is going to go. And the more technical you are, the more unbalanced you are when it comes to listening to what your audience want in that moment. Because they might be different than what you planned. They might be tired. You might be the fifth speaker on that day, and they're just not that into you right now, and you have to, what's plan B? Or they might not have had their coffee in the morning, and they're just not ready.
Yeah.
So when you are stuck on this practiced version that you've done in the mirror, you're kind of, you've only got one way. And if that road is stuck or blocked, or there's been an accident, you are going to crash. It's impossible. You lose your audience. And so you need to, I'm using this as a metaphor, you need to be able to have options to go dirt road, the back roads.
Right.
And the moment-to-moment model is knowing your key points where you're going, but then being able to have the relevant stories that come off that, a story that is funny and enjoyable, that picks up the energy, a one that might resonate with people. So you start to go, okay, these people don't quite get me yet. They don't. Are they rural? What can I talk about where I've lived in the country? Or the urban stuff, or what is something that I can relate to them on? So there's dramatic. You can have 3 or 4. The better you get, the more options you have coming off each point. And so when you're getting to each key point, you literally can look around the room and go, these guys need to laugh right now. I need to make them laugh. Yeah. And so I'm going to pull that story out. And I was going to go that one, but I'm going to go this one because this is what they need right now. And then they're back on board. And now you can drop in some, after you've made them laugh and stuff, you can actually drop in some serious stuff and teach them something. And after you teach the thing, you might need to release the pressure and have a little giggle again, or take them on some experiences. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So when you're framing or you're building, you're actually building your stories to be able to articulate your message.
Totally. And articulate the message and the stories that are relevant to how what that audience needs now, because it's not about us. It feels like you're a rock star in the moment, and it's incredible when you become good at this. It's like the world disappears and it's just you and your audience in that room. And when you get that, presenting for me is a feeling. And when you learn to harness that feeling and seek that feeling every time you work, you'll never go back to your original ways. It's impossible, because it's like the greatest drug you'll ever take. When you feel that energy with that room and those people are hanging on your words, and you realize that your responsibility as a storyteller is to take them on a journey. And when you accept that responsibility, and and you can feel that you're almost like, it's almost like the orchestra, isn't it? The conductor. Right. And at the end of it, you've taken them on this journey. And where it went is kind of, you didn't know, but if you're listening, if you're listening moment to moment or feeling it, you'll know where to take them. And at the end, you can see you can see this incredible experience that's happened. And the audience might not ever remember one word that you've said. This is the thing with presenting that I love. They might not remember anything you've ever said in 2 years or 3 years, even 6 months, even 3 months, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And that's why they'll keep coming back to you. Because it's in this day and age, in 2018 and beyond, more than ever, people are craving connection.
Mm-hmm.
you know, and speakers who are coming from a pure technical background or think that this is how it works, they're not going to develop that connection. You know, they're missing the authenticity. They're missing the very heartbeat of what makes great storytelling and what builds that connection with the audience.
Yeah, I like it. It's really significant and super powerful. And I can see now, you know, I start to reframe and watch what other people do. I'm like, oh, I can see how they've built story and to be able to share their message. Has there been like a pain point, or not that I want to talk about the pain point, but you brought it up, or a significant pain point that you've had to deal with in growing your own business?
Everything's in hindsight, isn't it?
Yeah, always. In the moment, it doesn't feel like that.
Do you know why? The way I got a foot into Australia so fast, and this is in hindsight. I tell you, actually there was a really cool experience that shifted things for me dramatically. I came to Australia. Actually, before I even made to Australia, there was a line that I said to myself, and it was stop being scared of yourself, Andrew, because I knew what I was capable of, and it was just a matter of getting out of the way. And I do that very well now. In fact, I have an incredible way of failing fast. Like, I love failure. I love making mistakes. And I embrace that. And I actually see that now, which is one of the main things that hold people back. But I was in the middle of a tour last year, and a crazy incident happened. Actually, Terry, you saw me just after this. In Sydney, I was in a shower, and I had this moment where I was looking at the newly tiled wall, and it wasn't grouted properly. And I processed that, and I went, wow, that means the water will be going in behind the tile. And when that water fills up, the pressure might push the tile out. And as I thought that, I probably had like half a second to get out. And the tiles, literally, as I was standing there, burst off, and the whole wall came down. And I jumped back. I was agile enough. So if it was a child or an elderly person, they would have lost, you know, a foot, or we killed, or lost something that you probably don't want to lose. And I got tangled up in the shower curtain, fell out of the shower, tiles over me. I had a massive big slice through here, and a big slice through my foot. And I kind of lay there and going, did this just happen? You know, it's like this has just happened. And so I hopped onto my bed, and I was sitting there dripping naked with blood everywhere, you know, up the walls. And I kind of go, I wanted an early night before I taught. And I went, what if I just close the bathroom door? Well, can I pretend this hasn't happened? And of course, looking down at my, you know, the blood going everywhere, I was like, oh no, this is pretty bad actually, Andrew. So I rang reception, and this young guy, I mean, he would have been 19 to 22, ran up, and he ran into my room. And because I'd hopped over to open the door for him and put my suitcase in front to keep it open, there was blood all over the floor. And he just walks in and he was just shaking. He was just going this, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And he didn't even say anything other than that. He ran back down the stairs, and I was sitting there going, well, I didn't even get to say, call me an ambulance. And he obviously was processing that when he got to the bottom of the stairs, because he stopped, and then he rang back up, and then he ran back into a room. He goes, sorry, sir, what can I do? And I mean, man, just ring me an ambulance. So I had no sleep. I went straight from the hospital that night, which was an experience in itself, in the waiting room with the crazy people of Sydney at 3 a.m. I went straight from the hospital, home, shower in a new room, and taught all that day. And then I flew to Sunshine Coast, drove up to Sunshine Coast, and I had a talk in the Sunshine Coast. And what happened was, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to talk. I was exhausted. I was running on adrenaline. I was covered in bandages, and I was really tired, and I was not in the headspace to teach or even be slightly positive on stage. I didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And it dawned upon me, this was the moment I went, but this is what you teach, isn't it? Like, to be authentic. So what if I don't change the way that I am? What if I just go on stage and just say, do you know what? I don't really want to be here. Can I get away with it? And I mean, well, if I don't push the edge, how will I ever know? So I went on stage. And I looked at everyone, they saw me in bandages, and I said, I haven't slept, and this happened last night, and to be really fair to you, I don't feel like speaking to you all tonight. And it felt so good. It felt really good. And I went, let's just see where this goes. And it became one of the best talks that I've ever had. Like, the stuff that was coming through when I got out of my way and was being authentic and letting it happen was beautiful. And I walked off and realized that one of the key things to what I do now is not to change state. So one of the key things I say is with this style of presenting and this brand is, do not change state. But who you are in the bathroom brushing your teeth, who you are having a coffee, who you are off stage on the side, who you are on camera, and everything is all the same. It's just the same. And people go, oh, but don't you want to be excited when you go on stage? And I go, that comes. Mm-hmm. That comes organically, because you can't be on stage in front of 30, 40, 100 people, 300 people, 1,000 people and not get excited organically. It builds, especially when you're feeling into your audience and going, okay, now I'm in it. Now we're rolling. Now we're rolling. You see, if you go on with a preconceived idea of being excited, you have to hold that excited state for the whole hour, which is false. And it's really energy sucking. Yeah. And just go on and allow that energy to build and be organic and natural. And this is authenticity. This is real. You don't come on like and pretending to be Tony Robbins or someone that you're not, because it's not you. It just happens, and your audience get you straight away. They get you.
That's really powerful.
I don't know if that answered your.
Yeah,
I don't know if that answered your.
Yeah, it's really.
So that's
powerful.
what changed my business.
Yeah. Well, you're actually a living, breathing testimony to the work that you do. And it debunks all the myths of how we think we have to show up when we're speaking to people, right? Because if you're authentically you, then the elements will take you, I always say follow the breadcrumbs. It's not a very glamorous expression, but the elements will take you to the next place that you have to go to, right? So. Yep.
And you know what each place, I mean, to answer your question specifically before about the business, is the busier I get, I just have to keep tweaking my business, because it's a speaking business, right? So the more people that come into and I'm working with, the more I have to change my business. So before I was teaching a lot of beginners to good. And that's kind of where I was positioned. But then I was going, well, actually my expertise and who I am and how I really teach is not aligned with where I'm positioning myself in the market. So I built my academy. Mm-hmm. And then of course, now I'm doing retreats with you guys. And this is now what I talk about and align myself with, because to be the authority, it's, you got to work with world-class people, and you got to work with people or to be seen working with people who are world-class or already running a business and want to take it to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. When you work with people, that's a really good segue. At the moment, you're working with people in groups. Are you doing much one-on-one work? So tell me a little bit about how you work with people.
I work with, for example, like with my academy, I work with people every week online. So it's Q&A. I'll have a subject to talk about, and then we do Q&A, and then I'm asking, people at different levels and need different information. So I don't like to use like a cookie cutter approach. And of course, to be the example of which I speak, I need to treat people like the little piece of art that they are. And then I have, part of the academy is I do 3 2-day intensive trainings. So I'll do one in Sydney, I'll do one in the Gold Coast, and one in Melbourne. And then outside of that, of course, is these new retreats, which is really exciting because it's 3 days, and a lot of change happens in 3 days. Like a lot of change. It's very hard. It's impossible to make someone a good presenter in a day or even half a day. But you get that in 3 days, and they see how the whole package comes together. Not just the skill set, which is just one thing, but how this helps you leverage your business and how to position yourself, and then the tools and models so that when you're going on stage, you know how to knock this out of the park. You know how to seed, you know how to bring people up and down and orchestrate, and it's it becomes a whole package instead of going, "Hey, I'm a really good presenter, but I don't know what to do with it."
Right.
Yeah, or I have a really good business, but I don't know how to get speaking gigs. It's the package.
Yeah, I love it. What kind of people, come to you in your academy, as far as what do they come to you for, and then what do they go on with?
So what was the question? Just cut out for a second. What do they come to me for? Or
so the kind of people that come into your academy, like what kind of people seem to be the one that you connect most with at the moment in your academy? And then, what do they go on to do after the academy? So are they...
Okay. Yeah. So the academy is ongoing, but the what they'll come to me for, like I'll just use some examples just to make it easy, is one person is an incredibly successful business person, but she's constantly turning down speaking opportunities because she's afraid of public speaking. So that is one type of person. She doesn't have the skill set, and she's too worried about, what do I look like? What if I forget my words? What if they think I'm stupid? What if they think I'm dumb? And you go, you run a multi-million-dollar company. How can you be stupid? This is your stuff. Then the other one was, we use the example of the lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
The lawyer who came to me, she goes, how do I stand out from other lawyers? Well, let's make you a storyteller, and let's give this your personality and your story a story. So you've got this character. You are the go-to business bully person.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's another one who's an incredible business person or a businesswoman, and she's getting paid to go to corporate events and speak at events to inspire their staff and to get people started and how to help people just get past go. And her story is, her thing is she just doesn't have the skills. Like, she overcomplicates it. What do I speak about? What story do I use? And for her, it's just refining and going, okay, let's break this down from A to B. You're speaking for an hour. What happens? What are the main points throughout the hour? And then what are the stories that you can use around those main points? And so she has this beautiful skeleton now where she's, this is easy. Okay, I got it. Confidence.
Yeah. I love it. What's the, what would be well, I've got two questions in there. What is the most common piece of advice that you give to people, not only in your academy, but people who come to you for coaching or for support?
One of my little lines is, don't wait for the feeling to start and the feeling will come. Mm-hmm. Presenting is a feeling. It's not a doing. It really is a feeling. Like, no one cares what you look like on stage. No one cares. And this is only us. It's what you're doing and you're giving off and the value in what you're saying. God, it's so varied. It's just endless. What it's like being a coach or a mentor. The funny thing about our job is that and this is like a coach's secret, is that we're learning just as much as the client, because it's coming up for you. And I think at the end of every day or workshop, I just kind of go, where did that come from? You know what I mean? Where did that stuff come from today?
Yeah.
And I think I'm lucky enough that with 25 years, and I didn't start out being a very good presenter. I had to work my butt off. Is that my gift is that I see people for who they are and what they're really capable of, or their real essence. And then I marry that with their business message. And when they're working with me, it's very easy for me to identify or feel what it is that they're going through, and what tools that I've used to get them past their specific place. So if they're stuck at this place, I ask myself, how did I get around that? I just know. I just know what to do. And some people need a bit of a kick in the bum. Some people need to be pushed. And then there's some people you who are really sensitive. You don't even look them in the eye. You almost pull them through without them even knowing that that's happening. And then you show them when they're already through, before they freak themselves out and see that. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Before they can say, I can't, you've already, you turn around and go, you actually can, because you're already there.
Super revealing. Before I pass it over to everyone else to ask you some questions, because I'm sure they have some, I feel like I should ask you, what is the question that I've missed? What's the question that you are waiting to hear from me?
Geez, that's a good question. It's throwing it in my ballpark, isn't it? You've been quite thorough, and I feel like I get really excited when I talk about this stuff, and I feel like your questions I've really elaborated on and kind of and answered it with 5 different things as well.
You have. I love it. Thank you. And like I've always said, I just follow the breadcrumbs, right? I'm a little bit Hansel and Gretel. Not quite. But for me, it's always about just follow the flow, and you know, it leads to where the magic is. So I think that's definitely been part of the flow with our conversation today, which has been super good. But I suppose I want to open up the floor to everyone else and see, because I still have millions of questions I could ask you, and I would happily do that. But I want to see if there's anyone else who has some questions that they want to ask you too. And just open it up, either Terry or Julie or Elaine or Robin. Do you guys have any questions that you would like to ask Andrew? You can just pop it in the chat and then I can unmute you, or you can unmute yourselves.
Ask away.
Ask away. This is your chance.
Sorry, I just disappeared for a second. That's what happens when the phone rings.
That's all right. I know Elaine's learned heaps. Julie's all good. I'm sure Terry asks you a million questions all the time, but if she has one for the group, that would be good. Okay. Amazing.
I think that the key thing, especially with this retreat, is you're not just getting the skills to be a really authentic and powerful presenter that connects with your audience. It's not just the skills, it's making sure that your business is set up to be a speaking business, you know, to profit off your leveraging from your speaking. And also the tools and the models, and to be able to go and implement straight away. I mean, this is the thing that from all the training that I went and did, you know, I used to treat myself every year. It was flying, you know, the States or London or wherever it was. And I always just felt when I left, there was something missing. There was something missing. And it was the package, the skills and the business side, and how to implement how do I implement this stuff? You know, how do I make this work? Like if I go implement this will happen. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of what you pay for, I think, with training, is how can I be assured that what I learn or my investment means that I can now go out, and if I do this, then this is the result.
Well, that's the $1 million question for most people who go to invest in training, right? How do I know that it's a no-brainer, I'm going to get what I came for? Especially in a field, particularly in, this is so personal, right? So, and it really is, I see what you do as much a personal journey with people to uncover that gift, as well as, you know, the technical skill. In fact, probably more so the personal journey.
People don't buy your product, they buy certainty.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like that. That's very cool.
Yeah. They buy certainty. Yeah. I mean, when I invest in coaches, and I always have one, is I'm investing in somebody who I know is going to take me forward. And the best compliment you can give a coach is, hey, I need to let you go because I've grown past you.
That's so interesting. Yes, but it's very valuable and very valid. Yeah. And yeah, we've all done that at certain parts of our lives. So would you share with us just an overview on, because I've seen the incredible overview for the masterclass that you'll be running in June at Vision Villas, but would you share with us just a little bit about the masterclass and what people can expect and the flow of the days, please?
Yeah, sure, sure. So what Terry and I have done as well is, instead of spending the first part of day one getting to know people and bringing them up to speed with stuff, we want to do a webinar first. So we'll do a webinar where people, obviously, if you can't attend, you can watch another time. But this is where we'll give people templates and things to hit the ground running once we get to Bali.
Mm-hmm.
The time we get to Bali is, this is where we go through people's businesses, and I get to marry their personality, or that unique little piece of art that they are, with their business. And by the end of day three, so then we work with the presenting the skills, then we work with the business, and then we work with marrying the two and making sure that they've got all the tools that when they leave, like literally they can start actioning when they walk out the door from this speaker's retreat. And Terry balances me out really well too. She has an incredible amount of fountain of knowledge and experience in running retreats and facilitating. So I feel very lucky to have her working with me and on my side as well, which is great. It's like tapping into two networks of IP, really, isn't it?
Oh, two powerhouses. I think that's how I've been describing it. So two powerhouses with incredible value and a capacity to serve the people that they're with. I've seen that in Terry and in you also. So I think anyone who attends will be, I'm coming. Anyone
you are coming.
I'm coming. Yeah, I was like, how will I get there? I'm coming. So I think anyone who attends will get like, it's the double-edged sword, right? They're going to get like double the impact with two different flavors and two different methodologies to deliver the same message. I think it will be an incredible event.
I mean, besides the webinar before and after, people walk away with a nice clear framework, a toolkit with like a video strategy for month by month going forward. I will be taking people through my speakers moment-to-moment model, which will give them an absolute clear foundation and confidence every time they go on stage, which this is revolutionary. When you feel super confident on stage, because not only do you know where you're going, but you're able to be nimble to work with your audience needs. That's a massive advantage over other people. You're going to get a very unique presentation approach that I don't really feel like anyone else is teaching. This is tailored to you. It's you. Like you. If 20 people come, and we're not going to have 20 people speaking and sounding the same at the end. We're going to have 20 individuals, and they're going to present in the way that makes them unique. And we're going to teach them how to leverage their business through speaking, and how to make a profitable business through public speaking and presenting. And more than anything, how to stand out and how to look, sound, and feel like an authority in their field, which is huge.
It's super huge. Super huge. I'm looking forward to it. And so I have just one more question for you before we sign off, if no one else has anything that they would like to add. What is your favorite word? Because you're a wordsmith and you're a gift. You've got a gift with words and with language. So what is your favorite word?
It used to be, God, what would it be? It's a couple of words that I don't really want to say on here and blow away my cover. I don't know. I don't know, Martine. I don't know what my favorite.
You got a phrase or
if you just are, it is my little phrase. If you just are, it is. Indicating is another one I use a lot. I prevent people from indicating on stage. Indicating is you're trying to show your audience how you're feeling instead of just being. So that's what I say by, that's what I mean by if you just are, it is. If you're trustworthy, you just are. If you're an honest person, then you don't have to act honest. If you're excited, you don't have to get on stage and act excited. Do you know what I mean? It's I love those two words, indicating, and they're not really sexy words, indicating, but I love it because it means it's like the crux of all the guts of what I talk about, really.
We'll have to pimp your word.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, do you know what? I have another phrase. Your imperfections are the window of which you let your audience in.
Ah, that's a good phrase too. Yeah. Yeah.
As people go, what? But I have all these little imperfections, or they're going to see what's wrong with me. And I'm like, yeah, that's why people love you.
Yeah.
You know, there's two things an audience will pick up on. These are your two intentions. Your intentions on stage is, one, this is business. I'm here to make money, and fair enough. The other one is I genuinely care. I genuinely care. Like I get off on seeing people move past go. I get off on seeing people get out of moving past where they are. And your audience will pick up on the intention that you're running the most. So if that's just business, your audience will feel that. And if they feel that you genuinely care, that's what they'll pick up on.
So true. Every single time. So true. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Andrew, I think it's been amazing chatting with you today. I just want to acknowledge you for your time and for all the information and the real you that's shown up today. I've loved getting to know you, and I'm sure that the others have too. And I can't wait to play this again and again. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your gift of sharing and the work that you do. It's wonderful to see and to be part of. And yes, I just look forward to seeing you in the flesh. I won't hold you like that. So just a big thank you.
I do that to all my clients when I see them, but for the first time, I always pinch them and go, "Oh my God, you're real."
Real. I know, through the screen. Yeah. So look, it's been lots and lots of value and lots of content. So I've really enjoyed the time with you today. Thank you so very, very much.
Thanks, Martine.
It's my absolute pleasure. We'll see you on the other side.
You shall. I'm sure I'll speak to you before then.
Absolutely. And to everyone else, thank you so much for your time and for contributing. And I can't wait to see you on the other side too, and in the Facebook group. So have a wonderful rest of the day wherever you are.
See you guys.
Bye.